Yet again, we are blessed with an amazing March Madness weekend. The madness has happened. The madness just keeps continuing. And if you guys are enjoying the madness just as much as me, do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. I'd really appreciate that. Helps get the video around. And while you're at it, if you love college sports and college content, whether that is basketball or football, hit the sub button down below because we cover that a lot. Let's get into this weekend and heading into our predictions for the Elite Eight, because holy, what a weekend we had. Yes, there were some games that were blowouts, some games that the basketball performance was not very good, but then you have some amazing quality, just classic college basketball games. I hint at the Alabama-UCLA one that just happened today as an example, because just when you think Alabama's out of it, Herb Jones misses 3 out of 4 of his free throws in his last 4 free throws when he could have put Alabama ahead, misses his last 2 to not even tie the game up, and you go out, hit a three-pointer, send it to overtime, and then just get absolutely smacked by UCLA the rest of the game. There's just some good college basketball. The ORU-Arkansas game, I posted my post-game reaction to that. Insane game. But I'm going to get into my predictions today and who I think is going to make it to the Final Four. So we got Elite 8 predictions, guys. Sit back, relax, enjoy this one because we got a really good one coming up. We'll start off with the top left part of the bracket, and that is the Gonzaga-USC game. I really feel like it's going to be destined for Gonzaga to lose at least one of these next coming games. You look at some of the most elite college basketball teams we've ever seen. That one undefeated Kentucky team who dropped to Wisconsin in that Final Four, they have the same thing going as Gonzaga did. They had an undefeated season going and they lost. And I look back to, I think it was the last tournament, Duke, or that could have been like 2 tournaments ago. You have Duke's team who loses to MSU, I'm pretty sure in the Elite Eight, a team that was supposed to easily win this tournament. I feel like Gonzaga is destined to lose, but I still think this team with Timmy and Nembhard is too good to lose, no matter my opinion about how I just think they're destined to lose. If I'm looking at this game realistically going up against USC, Gonzaga's going to win. They're just too good of a team. And if anything's going to happen to Gonzaga, I think it is going to be in the Final Four, taking on either Michigan or taking on either UCLA, which we'll touch on later. Let's move on to the top right part of the bracket where we got Baylor and Arkansas going at it out there. That Arkansas game, first of all, against Oral Roberts, I think that's why I like Arkansas so much and why I feel confidence in Arkansas. Not because they played a close game against Oral Roberts, but this team has been constantly been put up against a wall and been able to come out with a win. And that's all you need in March Madness. It doesn't matter the margin of win you have. It doesn't matter how pretty the win is. If you win, you move on. And that's what Arkansas has been able to do. It hasn't been pretty, but when this team has found themselves in holes, they're able to battle back and come out with a win in this game. Obviously, you have Tate having the huge game against Oral Roberts, scoring 22 points there. But why I like Arkansas in this game is, let's be honest, Baylor hasn't gone up against really, really good competition yet. I can't even remember. I think they play like Hartford or something first round. That was their 16th seed. Then they play Wisconsin. And then they play Villanova, which Villanova gave them a bit of a scare early on in that game. But it wasn't anything too crazy because obviously Baylor wins by 10 plus points. But I just don't think this Baylor team has played a quality team in this tournament. And an Arkansas team who has constantly found themselves able to dig themselves out of holes and be in these really, really close games and come out of them with wins. That gives me confidence in the must-bust Eric Musselman and this Arkansas team going to the Final Four. I know this is kind of my upset pick for this bracket. I might have another one coming up. Hint to that later. But I'm just feeling it with this Arkansas team, man. I said whoever wins, or Roberts or Arkansas, who I'm going to be cheering for the rest of the bracket. And, of course, that could be me being biased, but I not just cheering for Arkansas because I like them, but I think that this is a good team and a team that definitely has the capability to go on and beat this Baylor number 1 seed. To see 3 number 1s in the Final Four, I think is going to be unlikely. I say we get 2 in the Final Four, and I already have one, which is Gonzaga. And the other one we're going to talk about later. So let's move on to the bottom right part of the bracket where we got Oregon State versus Houston. Oregon State versus Houston. First of all, that game, Oregon State versus Loyola Chicago, a defensive show-off. I don't know if that's just because both teams had really good defenses or the offensive performance in that game in the first half was just that bad, but it was terrible. It was a terrible fundamental game of basketball, but yet it was still a game. It was a good classic college basketball game in March Madness where it doesn't matter how you win. You get the win. You make the game entertaining, and it was fun. Ethan Thompson having an amazing game in that one as well for the Oregon State Beavers. The Pac-12, though, I got to give a hand to them because they're the only conference to have multiple teams in the Elite Eight. And not only do they have multiple, they have three. Almost half of the teams in the Elite Eight are going to be from the Pac-12. And you look at the other conferences. You got Big 12 only has one. Big 10 only has one. SEC only has one. West Coast Conference only has one. And then who am I missing? You got three in the Pac-12. SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and then you're going to have ACC, Houston. So that's who they're going up against. Perfect. Houston. I picked Syracuse in my last game. I thought Syracuse was going to be the better team. They just were on a hot streak. And after that Houston game against Rutgers, I felt really confident in where Syracuse was heading into that game. And I found out I was wrong. Syracuse was not on at all. I don't know if this was even Houston's game. Like, they had some good three-point shooting, but Syracuse was just not a good team. Buddy Boeheim did not show up at all in that game, and it looked awfully sloppy for that Syracuse team going on. Now, who am I going to take here? Houston or Oregon State? This is really tough for me because I'm not a fan of Houston. I think out of these 8 teams that I see here, Houston, just in my personal opinion, is my least favorite team. But that's no excuse to pick them out of the Final Four because I still think that this is a really, really good basketball team, and especially going up against Oregon State. Yes, Oregon State is really, really hot right now, but I don't see it. The performance that I saw against Loyola Chicago and the team that they went up against in Loyola Chicago and their performance was just too sloppy for me to pick Oregon State confidently. So even though I'm not a fan of Houston, can't be biased, I'm taking the Houston Cougars onto the Final Four. So far we got Gonzaga, we got Arkansas, and then we got Houston in the Final Four, leading us to our last game in Michigan versus UCLA. And this is going to be the hardest one. All the other games I've kind of thought out beforehand who I would pick, but this one I'm going into completely blind because I like both teams. Man, UCLA, Hawkeyes, they're all riding a hot streak right now. This is a team, I don't want to say blue blood team. I think that they're first out of the blue bloods because in my opinion, the blue bloods, you got Duke, UNC, Kansas, and Kentucky. Those are my 4 blue bloods. And then you have UCLA, MSU next tier. But you have a team of that high caliber in a program only make it to the first 4, and then they're running the table and have a chance to make it to the Final Four. This is a team that has just been really, really hot, but that Michigan team too. Just out-rebounding. I think out-everything Florida State. Florida State did not look like the team that they were in the prior games in this game against Michigan. Michigan pretty much had them the whole game. Dickinson and Wagner, I love those 2 guys on the inside for Michigan. It gives me confidence in them to go on and be able to win this game. But do I pick UCLA, who's riding the hot streak and kind of the underdog here? Could we get an 11? Do I go 1, 1, 2, 3, or do I go 1, 11, 2, 3? Again, I'm coming into this blind. I don't even know who I'm going to pick right now. Like, I'm still trying to figure it out in my head. It is that hard. It is that 50-50 for me because I had Alabama coming out of this bracket, and I thought that this was going to happen. When they hit that overtime shot, I thought that Alabama was going to continue to move on, and then I just would have picked Alabama over Michigan. I can't pick against Michigan. I'm going to go the Michigan Wolverines here. That was hard. I think that this could be definitely one of the more underrated games of the 2. I think the best game that you're definitely looking at is that Baylor-Arkansas game. And then I'd go this Michigan, UCLA, and then you go, I think the Gonzaga. I think Oregon State, Houston's going to be the worst one. Then you're going to have Gonzaga versus USC as the 3rd best game out of the 4. But I honestly think that Michigan's going to come out with it in the end. So that is my Final 4. Michigan, Gonzaga, Arkansas, and Houston. 1, 1, 2, 3 in the Final 4. I mean, it was a great stretch up to here for most of these teams, but I just do not have the confidence in Oregon State. I have the confidence in UCLA, but I can't pick them. I said it was a real 50-50 for me on who I'm going to take in that game, but I honestly think that Michigan is going to show up and be the better team in that game. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I appreciate it. Enjoy the next couple days of the Elite Eight and then leading into the Final Four. We are going to do Final Four predictions on here, so you're definitely going to want to stick around for that. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like the video down below, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and definitely come back next time.